Hey, everyone. Welcome to Thrive O'Clock. If I had the right, that's so funny. It's not game time yet. Just kidding. Just kidding. It has been one of those weeks. So thank you to everybody who's going to join us today. We have an exciting show, and I have a co-host here. But first, I want to send some love out to Melody in Alaska and sending her lots of love and hugs right now and miss her here. So I just wanted to throw that out there. But for anybody who's joining in, I am Rachelle Poth and do a lot of things, educator, author, many, many things, and enjoy learning and definitely connecting here in our Thrive and EDU community and having guests. But today I have an amazing co-host, and I'm super excited to have Dr. Will as my co-host today. So Dr. Will, how's it going?
It's going. I am, I've been just chilling. Nearpod came to see us Wednesday. We had a little thing. And since then it's just been sort of like putting out fires and just chilling.
Yeah, it has been an interesting week this week. We had at my school, the students had off last weekend, of course, and then they had off Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, because we had clerical day Monday, we had PD working on Schoology all day Tuesday, and parent teacher conferences on Wednesday. And so the kids at school were like, "Oh, aren't you well rested from your days off?" I'm like, "No, like I was here." They're like, "You were here." I'm like, "Yeah." We had school, like we didn't have off. So it felt like a long week. And on Tuesday, hey, Dr. Sarah, on Tuesday, I walked out into the hall and like the morning was dragging and I was so tired. I mean, I was just working in my room. And I said to one of my colleagues, I said, "Can you tell me something?" He said, "What's that?" I go, "Is it still Tuesday?" He said, "Yeah, why?" And I go, "Because I feel like I've been in my room for like 4 years at this point. It's only like a little bit after 11. So it has been a very, very busy, short week, I guess. So I'm excited for our guest that we have today and to unwind a little bit, have some fun, and play some games. So, should we bring our guest up?
Yeah.
All right. So, we want to welcome Bonnie.
Hi.
Hey, so Bonnie, why don't you tell everybody who you are, where you're from, what you do?
All right. All right. I got to tweet this. That had to make sure I got that last one out.
All right.
So yeah, I am Bonnie Nieves. I'm a high school science teacher in Massachusetts. I just wrote a book that came out over the summer, Be Awesome on Purpose. And so I started a consulting company in, over the pandemic. And I get excited about everything. If you ask me something, I probably have tried it. And I love talking about education and science. I was at a science teacher conference all day today. So I'm already all fired up. So yeah, I guess I'm just ready to go. I don't know.
Yeah.
I missed a lot, but
You
we'll
did?
figure it all out, I think.
I think the only thing that you missed was letting everybody know how often you beat me at Word Feud.
I don't even count. I don't even pay attention to the score.
I
So,
don't count either, but once in a while I'll check it out. I'm like, oh wow, that's just
yeah.
embarrassing right now. But I love it just because we connect in so many different ways. And so I
Yeah.
think I do want to talk. I want to come back and talk about your book, but I think I'm going to dive into and pull Dr. Will into this one too about the importance of community and connections. Because since I just threw that out there about me losing at Word Feud, like there is somebody else who I've been playing. There are a couple people that have been playing Word Feud, not Word with Friends, Words with Friends. Sorry to anybody like, why are you playing Word Feud? My phone did not like Words with Friends, but there are a couple of other people I've been playing like 6 years with. One of them's a teacher that lives, I think, in Colorado, and I forget about the other one. It's just interesting that you can like form these connections and friendships in these really interesting spaces. So I'm going to toss it over to Dr. Will first and ask Dr. Will, what is a way that you have connected with other educators, other people that is not like the traditional way that people might be used to, but have been like super beneficial or enriching for your life? Deep question.
Definitely. Well, definitely Twitter, being able to kick it with people, get to know them. It's crazy to do it and to then see them at a conference somewhere, and to be like, wow, like, I mean, we know they're real, but you see them and you get a chance to see them offline. So that's pretty much it. Because I don't play video games, so I'm not out there with people from all over the country trying to shoot somebody on a video game. I don't do that. I know a lot of the kids have those type of connections or whatever, but yeah, just the Twitter thing, just and Voxer. I don't do a lot of Voxer like I used to, but Twitter has just been really amazing, because when I first got on Twitter a long time ago, it was when Twitter actually had a question like, what are you doing right now? And I think I started out saying, look, I'm eating a sandwich or whatever. And I was like, yo, this is dumb. I'm not going to talk like this. And then I just started engaging people. And then after that, I was hooked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I never wanted to get on Twitter for like kind of the reason that you said, neither Twitter nor Facebook, because I thought it was just about posting what I'm eating, what I'm doing, or for celebrities, or talking about politics, or whatever. And then when I had to plan a high school reunion, and I was telling my students this in my 8th grade class the other day, because we were just talking about technology. And I said, yeah, I was planning the high school reunion. I was going through the phone book looking for like 600 people that I graduated with. And somebody was like, do you really think that you're going to still find that people live here and that they have the same names and they're in that phone book that you're flipping through? Like, why don't you just get a Facebook account? I'm like, because I don't want to know what people are eating. And they're like, it's more than that. And so, and Twitter, same thing. So I had written a series of blog posts, like 6 or 7, like Snapchat and Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn, about how I was wrong about this and that and the other thing, because of like those connections. And the same thing, like Twitter, the first people that I met were in a chat in Tennessee. And I didn't know, it was like my very first Twitter chat, and it was Wiley Ed Chat. And it had, there were like 3 or 4 people, and I got to meet them in person at the following ISTE that was in Philly. But they're like, what part of Tennessee are you from? I'm like, I'm from Pittsburgh. I didn't know this was a Tennessee chat, but we're friends still. And, that has been like over 6 years now. So yeah, love Twitter, Facebook for sure. And how about you, Bonnie?
Yeah, I have a similar story actually. So I first started using Twitter because I had heard that John Mayer was on Twitter, and I just wanted to see if there were like 25 people only on Twitter, there had to be some chance that he'd accidentally talk to me. So that's what I was trying to do. And that's how I got this biology goddess name, because that was my nickname in college, and it was that long ago. So, or not quite that long ago, but still before I had become a teacher. So after that, I just had put my account aside and hadn't thought of it at all. And I don't even know what it was that prompted me to open up Twitter when I was a teacher. And there was this chat that I thought, oh, look at these people are talking about teaching. That's really cool. So I just started responding to them. And then I joined their chat weekly for such a long time. And it turns out they were in Missouri. And one of the teachers there, Don Eckert, is like still one of my biggest inspirers. And we're still connected, even though I totally crashed their school chat. But yeah, it's just so neat how you can just become part of a community in a place that you would never have been able to connect without Twitter. It's amazing.
But I know, and I think back to like, this goes way back. Like this is last century, which is kind of funny. It's like the 1900s. Although when we had the technology, but like if you remember chat rooms on AOL and people saying like, oh, you're talking in a chat room, like why are you, like, who are you talking with? And sometimes it ended up that it was somebody that lived in your town or something, or nearby or close enough, and even that was just a scary concept. Like and I don't know, everybody was like joining in those chat rooms because it was the conversation, and I don't know, who you get to learn information, similar to what we do on Twitter now, but it wasn't as, I mean, obviously like widespread or popular, but thinking back to that, and just imagine like how some of us, we've been friends for years and we've never got to meet in person, but yet when we do, when that happens, it's like, the first time that I got to meet a lot of people in the Edge and Match family was when Sarah had the event in, I always blank if it was San Antonio or what, but get to see face to face. And like Dr. Will, like I always talk about it. We got to sit down and he had his dinner there, but I wanted to take it back to my room to do some work. And so we had a great conversation for a while. And it's like, you feel like you've known these people for forever because you've interacted. And if it's
Mhm.
Twitter, if it's Facebook, but Voxer is another one that I
Mm.
got the start from Rodney Turner, who was a great friend of mine years ago. And I was like, what's this walkie-talkie thing? Like, are you kidding me? Like, I used walkie-talkies growing up. I actually met a friend through a walkie-talkie. It was the craziest story. But
Huh.
he connected people that were going to ISTE for ISTE 2016, maybe in Denver. And it was just a group. And then he set that up. And every day was like the countdown, and you could hear the voices. And then everybody met in person. There were like 50 people there. We all got pictures, there were t-shirts. And it was like
Huh.
you were familiar with them because you had the messaging, you heard the voices, you saw pictures. And so that connection did exist. So it is it's amazing and then when you find out like you know the same people, but like how you connect in these different spaces. So anyway.
Yeah, and that's not even getting into the Twitter DM groups.
I know.
Like, that's a whole other, like, rabbit hole of just different types of conversations that aren't public, where you
Mhm.
really get to know people and share thoughts and dreams and problems, and it's just wonderful. Yeah.
I know there are so many, and I think it can be overwhelming, especially if somebody's just looking to get connected. But I think the best advice is just to pick one and find a
Yeah.
space and see, try to like, do you like it? Do you not like it? But to do all of them, but the more that you get involved, like we're all doing all of these
Yeah.
spaces, right? Like all these notifications are going off all the time.
Yes.
And but it's
Yeah.
especially in this past year and a half, thankfully, we've had this technology where we can stay
Yes.
connected because you don't feel like you haven't really seen somebody for so long like this. Like, I haven't
Yeah.
seen some people in person like Melody since last February, but doesn't feel like that.
Mhm.
I hope it's not that much longer because I miss her, but I
I
don't know.
know, and I still think it's amazing that you and I have never actually been in
I
the same
know.
room together.
I know.
So strange because, like, you're here with me all the time. Like, you're here every day.
I
We're
know.
playing Word Feud every
Yeah, like
single
we
day
communicate every
for
single day in
years.
some format, but it's just we've never really met in person. I
Yeah,
mean, we're in the same space right now, but I don't
yeah.
know. One day soon, FETC, right?
Yes,
Yes.
hopefully. Like, I can't see why not. I will be there if I have to drive there. So that's
Oh,
that.
that's a long drive. So I
It
hope
is.
not.
I don't care. Yeah.
All right. So I'm
Mm.
going to shift to be
Oh,
awesome on purpose. And
all right.
I don't know if Dr. Will wants to like grill you with some questions about it or not, because
Oh, oh, I would love it.
he's so good at asking questions because his podcast, which if anybody who's listening has not checked out Dr. Will's podcast, please do. I'll drop the link in there so you can check it out because I've been honored to be on his podcast 2 times, I think. I don't think 3, but 2 times. So, but I enjoy being a guest, but I definitely enjoy listening to it. So anyway, so be awesome on purpose. Bonnie, what can you tell
Yes.
us about your book?
So yeah, I'm much better at answering questions about it than I am about initiating conversations because I could just talk about it forever.
Yeah.
So um the idea behind the book is that I went from being a teacher that just used worksheets. I remember a, a day when I gave a test to students and no one got a 100, and some of the kids were asking about, well, I thought I did really good, and I said, well, no one's perfect. It's really hard to get a 100. And now I look back at that and I think how I tell my kids every day that they're perfect,
Mhm.
right? I tell them they don't have to work for that 100% grade. They're perfect now, and we're just learning things as we go. So it's the process of going from that person that says no one's perfect, you'll never get 100, to I'll give you the 100 right now if you promise to work for it, and but all of the things I learned along the way. So it it walks through my story being a student in high school that just didn't connect with teachers, and how there's a real importance of connecting with a teacher when you're a student, and just learning how to be that teacher that kids can connect with, and finding ways to reach them where they are, to teach them in a way that is meaningful to them, and how do you find the time to do that? Because ideally everyone wants to do that. There's no teacher that says, "Oh no, I don't care if that kid learns or not."
Right.
But it's time that we all need. So there's different ways that you can write your lessons and units that revolve around particular interests. So if you have done that long enough, then you have this huge library of lessons. Every teacher has them. They're either in a file drawer somewhere or they're in a Google Drive folder somewhere. But instead of choosing which one to use today, just throw them all out and ask the kids which one do you want to do? Like you have answer keys for all these already. You have plans for them already. Why do you insist on using just one? Watch what happens, and that will inspire you to do more. So that's like the gist of the beginning, right? Just inspiring you to reach students where they are with what you already have. And then there's reflection questions and built-in supports for how to be more project-based and start releasing yourself from having to do all the grading. Find ways for students to self-evaluate or peer evaluate, and give yourself more time to interact with students and build relationships. And you begin to see how students are more involved, more engaged, and ultimately are higher achieving with relatively or less effort in the long run on your part as the teacher, and it's a lot more rewarding.
Yeah, definitely. And one thing, and then I'm gonna use the listening lips that Melody uses, but I did want to say that if you had heard, like we had Andrew on, I forget if it was last week or not, but his daughter joined him in the car, and Melody and I were talking to him and said, like, you know, how's your teacher? What do you like about your teacher? And she said, she gets me. And I was like, wow. And, you know, Melody said, well, what do you mean by that? Like, how can you explain it? She said, no, she just gets me. And I thought, that is awesome. I went and told my students the next day, I was like, this is what this little girl said. Like, the teacher gets me. And so whatever it means, like, maybe you can't put that into words, but those relationships, they are essential. So now listening lips are on. Over to you. Wait, over to you. Dr. Will. This way.
Well, I want to ask you this about that because, you know, I'm 48, come from a different generation. And for me, relationships with students, I see them from a different lens, right? Like when I hear people say, well, kids don't learn people, teachers they don't like. And I'm like, well, that's just dumb on their part, quite honestly. And I feel that way because you got to get, as a student, you have to get your education for yourself, not for the teacher, not for your parents, not for your guardians. Like this is your life, right? Like when you're 35 and you just living a life that you don't like, you can't go back and say, well, you know, I didn't, you know, Miss Johnson didn't like me in the 5th grade. No one wants to hear that. Not to mention, as a teacher, if you got 60 kids that you teach, there are going to be some of them kids that you, in your mind, every time they do something, you're shaking them like a rag doll. So when you are talking about these relationships and knowing that we're human beings, right? And kids are humans, even though they don't have fully developed brains, they're humans too. And everybody's not going to work this thing out. They're going to clash. They're not going to like each other. That's just a fact. How do teachers get to the point you're talking about when, again, you can show up and you know, I mean, I'm just saying, you have kids that you know straight up. The first day they just rub you the wrong way, and you're like, man, I won't bother with that kid. I can't worry about that. I can't bother with that kid, you know, because we're human beings, you know, let's be real. So when they're dealing with that, how do they overcome that? How do they say, okay, I'm going to put in the work to do these relationships, knowing that's a tough call to make. I mean, you can be a parent and not like your kids. I mean, you can love them, but still be like, I don't like these two right here. I don't like these two. Now I love them, but I can't stand those two. So yeah, holler at me. Tell me, how do you get people to do the internal work, I guess, to go beyond those things when there is that friction, or when they are not at that mindset?
I have a couple of trick things that I do, and you're right. There's especially like particular groups of students. It's not necessarily individual students, but when students are in particular groups, they act in different ways. So a kid, being in the hallway, be like, "Hey, Mrs. Nieves, like, nice to see you this morning." But in a group, that same student would be like, "I'm not doing what you say," because they have something to prove, right?
Mhm.
So a couple of things I do is I think about, what is it about me that makes me feel this way about this group of kids? Because these kids here are the same kids in the hallway. So there's got to be something that I can do in this environment that's under my control that makes them behave differently. And try to, I mean, of course, change the groupings that students are in, but spend more time with kids, really get to know them. And actually, it's funny that you mentioned about who kids work hard for, because that's one of the first questions I ask in a not, I call it a personality survey, but it's just something that I use to get to know kids. One of the first questions I ask is a multiple choice. I work hard for myself, someone at home, my teacher, or something else. And the kids that say they work hard for their parents are the ones that stand out to me. So, like, if this kid's not ready to take ownership of what they're doing, they're going to need a little extra push in class. And the other thing that I do, that actually I'm preparing to do this weekend, is write thank you notes to students and come up with something, anything about every student that I can thank them for. So some of them will be, "I'm thankful for how you make me a more introspective teacher." Like, but there's got to be something. And then that completely changes the class, and it's without fail every time that happens, because kids come in and they're like, "You wrote me a thank you note? Like, how long did it take you to write 100 thank you notes?" And then they see, like, I'm invested in this,
Mhm.
and I can see something in you. You need to see that in you, and I'm grateful that you're pushing me.
Mhm.
So let's get on the same page and start pushing in the same direction so everyone can get where they want to be.
Okay, I'm not writing the notes.
Not writing the notes. There shall be no notes written, none whatsoever. How about like a voice note, like thank you for no.
No, 100, no, 100, no, I can't do it. Again,
That's a lot.
I'm 48. I'm a different dude. Like when I used to work with
I'm
kids
older than you, Will.
hands on. But again, I come from a different era of teaching, right? And I come from a different sort of household as well. So for me, even when I used to work with kids hands on, I would tell them, you got to put in the work for you. And I held my expectations really high for them. And I would tell them, like, this is your life, right? You got to make this thing happen for you. And I always held them to the highest expectations. Now, I'm not saying that I wouldn't be friendly, but they knew we weren't homies. I treated, because again, my focus was always to get them to understand that intrinsically, they have to understand that the work has to be done by them. And that if their work output was influenced by intrinsic motivations, such as, I want to make the teacher happy, or is this going to do that? See, all that stuff fades. The only thing that's is internal is what juice do I have inside to push forward? And that's the one thing that I always stressed when working with kids. So, and then yeah, I'm not the huggy fussy person. So no, I'm not doing no notes. I'm not doing all that stuff. Like I said, I came from old school where teachers did that thing right there. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So they don't do that now, but back in the day,
Oh
you
yeah.
know,
We heard that sound a lot in elementary school, and you see the kid, because the school had like 2 classrooms, and there was like the room in between them, and the door would shut, and you'd hear like, and then your kid come out, and he's like gritting because he didn't want to cry in front of everybody, but you knew that he like totally took a crack like really hard. But
Aw.
they would come around and smack, like they had rulers, like not the plastic ones, because those plastic ones, they do not hurt. The flimsy ones, that the wooden rollers like smack your hand. Yeah, those were the days. You're right. It was a different time, but I mean, it is important to figure out a way to connect with the students. And you're making me laugh about like you can love your kids, but you may not like them. Like I've heard a lot of parents say that, like I love my kids, but I really don't like them right now.
Yeah.
But for me, and gosh, like time is flying. So I don't know. I looked at the clock. I'm like, oh my goodness, it's already like 6:25. But for me, I have the benefit. I'm in a small school. I'm the only Spanish teacher. Whether or not my students appreciate that, it's like great. Have both again next year, the year after that. And sometimes they have me for like in 8th grade to take my STEAM course. But I love that I get to see some of them, and there have always been, and all of the years I've been teaching, there have been some kids, and like it always would bother me if I couldn't find a way to connect, because I'm like, I'm trying. And there were times where I didn't try a lot, because I just figured like, it doesn't really matter if they like me, which at the end of the day, I did say sometimes, well, I'm here to teach you. I'm here to help you. I'm here to do this. Like, I'm not here to be your friend. And then I thought, well, should I even say that? Like, I kind of felt bad saying that, but I do care about them. But in my benefit, to my benefit, like I see their growth from 8th grade, where like there were days I'm like, oh my gosh, am I going to make it through this day? Like I've written about it in books, where there were some classes that really, I lost my composure, I tried my patience, and I was trying all these things with these kids, but it ended up being like these subtle things. Like I walked by and just happened to glance down the floor one day when we were in the library, and I saw the book Ready Player One. And I had read that, and I don't know if anybody's read it or anything that's watching, but it was super nostalgic for me. I'm like, oh my gosh, I remember like the quarters for the games of Pac-Man and everything. And I just said, wow, like whose book is that? And this kid said, that's mine. And I said, oh my gosh, like I loved that book. And that was all it took after like 7 months of the school year of anything that I tried not working. And now the student is a senior, and it's like just to see the growth. I mean, in myself, obviously, from like dealing like back then to now, and being able to reflect on that, but even just looking at the growth of the students and to see them change and adapt over time. So I'm lucky I get to see, I don't know how some people might feel like, oh, that's not luck. Like you get them for 5 years, but I like seeing the relationships build and form and change over time. So, yeah, I've written some notes. I actually don't tell a lot of people, but I wrote notes for my seniors on the desk with like the dry erase markers when they came in before graduation. They were like, who wrote all over the desk? I was like, that was me.
Oh, I write on desks all the time. I have those chalk markers.
Oh yeah.
I write on desks all the time. Yeah.
Oh
it's a
gosh.
lot of fun, and it feels so naughty.
I know it does. Like I'm breaking the rules. So we've been talking like kind of seriously for a while, but it's a really good conversation. And I do want to play like a quick kind of a game, but I'm just going to pose this up there. Is there anything from this week that's on your mind that you've been thinking about, or you've heard in conversations that you're like, I wish I could go back and change that, or I wish I knew, or anything that's on your mind today from this past week that, I don't know, you can share?
The
Putting you on
thing
the spot.
the thing that's weighing on my mind. So this isn't light or it's something that's going to make you giggle, but it's what's really on my mind is our standardized test scores from last June came out this week, and some of my students didn't pass their standardized test last year, and I'm grappling with how much of that is my responsibility, because when students do well, I like for all the years I've been teaching, I've only had 2 students not pass the standardized test at the end of the year. And I never go, well, yay, good job, me. I always say, you know what, that the kid just turned up right. They had, maybe a good breakfast that day. Everyone was just on point and prepared. But now when there's students that didn't do well, I'm shouldering that. And I can't get that right in my head. So that is what has been on my mind all day.
Yeah.
Just
That's heavy.
feeling.
That's a lot. Yeah.
It is, and it's not a big deal in the long run. They'll
Right.
retake it, they'll pass it, and it will be fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, just that feeling of I shouldn't feel that I'm responsible, but I am responsible. So if I'm responsible for this, then I must be responsible for when they do well, but I'm not. So that means I shouldn't be responsible for this. And yeah.
You just made me giggle, for the record. You said it would make you giggle, but you made me giggle. But Dr. Will was doing Dr. Will.
All right.
I got the point right. Dr. Will.
Yeah, I didn't get the point right.
I know, like a point.
Yeah.
So you did the
Yeah.
Not responsible. Not responsible. You can't make them learn. You can't make them want to learn. You can't make them put in the work. You can only do your best and let it roll. I mean, let's be real. I mean, it's interesting that you say that, but when doctors sit down with you and they say, okay, here's your medication. You need to take your medication this way. I also want you to remove the salt or whatever from your diet. They do their jobs and they let you go. I don't know how many doctors who go home and go, oh my gosh, Miss Johnson will not take their blood pressure pill. It is all on me, because they know that they've done their job. And for educators to take that home to them, right, and to take that stress and that responsibility and put that on themselves, I mean, that's just not right, because you got to go home to be your best self to the people around you, and you can't do that when you keep holding that burden on yourself when you only have one part to play in the system. The rest of it is up to the student and to their parents or guardian.
Yeah. And to the system, like we were hybrid for part of the time. Students were out quarantined for part of the time. There were so many factors involved in that. You're right. And deep down, I know it, but it's still that teacher guilt.
It still weighs on you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm getting over it. So thank you, Dr. Will. That helped a lot.
Oh boy, that's funny. Like his head shaking. I'm giggling. He's shaking his head. But it's good to have these conversations where like not everybody agrees. Like we're not all just like bobbing our heads like, oh yeah, totally, Bonnie, totally with you. Like to give a little pushback and I read a great quote the other day and I can't remember where I read it. And from a blog the other day, and I talked about it on Monday, and it was about like the importance of having the support that that they give you the pushback that you need, but they're also there to support you when you need it too. And so I'm thankful for this space of being connected with both of you. So with that, we're going to do a very quick, because I want to be sensitive of time, and we have to have a game. So it's going to be a Zoom. I don't actually get to play because I'm going to name the objects, and I could cheat because I just named stuff I have right here, like get a water bottle, hey, I win. Get an iPad, woo, 2 for 2. But I'm not going to do that. It's just ridiculous. So first object, find something that's gold.
Cool. All right, I have multiple. Hold on, wait, look, I've got a gold wreath and I've got gold battery powered lights. 2 things.
Do they go together?
No.
Are they both from the Dollar Tree? Because I have that wreath.
This is from the Dollar Tree. This was $1, but I got it on clearance at Michael's.
Nice. Well, I think Bonnie, Dr. Will beat you just by like a smidgen. He lifted it up there. I know. And I even set you up. Yeah. So I'm going to have to give that point to Dr. Will for that one. Okay.
All right.
Second item, find or show something that you can eat.
Oh my. There's nothing like that here.
You get ketchup? Like wasn't that the Adam Sandler movie where the kid just wanted to eat the ketchup or something, right?
Yes.
Oh man, Dr. Will, you're too
funny.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll do let's see. I'm gonna have to do like 3 more because it's all right. So third thing, find something that is empty. I'm copying that from Andrew
Empty.
the other day. Empty.
My wallet.
All right, it's 2-1.
Okay.
Okay. Fourth, find something that is green.
Green. Oh, geez. Look.
Oh,
Yeah.
Bonnie, you got that one. So it's 2 for 2.
Okay.
Okay, I gotta think here. Geez, I wish I had Andrew powers right now. Okay, this is for the win.
Okay. Oh boy.
Find something. Find something. That's it. Find something. No, find something that starts with the letter
Cool.
E.
E.
Mhm.
Oh God. That's a weird letter.
I know.
E. E.
Uh-oh.
Emoji.
Oh.
Oh, earphones are good too.
Oh, is that what that was? Do you know
Yeah.
why I picked E? Because I was like B or D, and then I went with E for edgy match.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, I know. You're like, that is a weird letter. I know. So
Yeah, that was a good one.
you know what? I'm gonna be fair. I'm gonna call it a tie.
All right. Yes, because I was pushing the limit with emoji.
And you were pushing the limit with a type of emoji too. Just gonna throw that out there. No,
It has to say that.
no, it's all good. So I think that was fun. Andrew came up with that game with the Zoom scavenger hunt kind of thing. So it doesn't take a lot of planning, although I did struggle a little bit. So
Yeah,
hey,
it is very
somebody's
stressful. Actually.
it is. I know.
Like,
Because you're like, oh my goodness, what do I find? So thank you, Bonnie, for joining in. Dr. Will, as always, thank you for being here, for being my co-host today, and engaging in my little game here at the end. And
No, it was
everybody,
nice.
yeah, it was kind of fun.
I bump into Dr. Will every so often, but never in the same space like this. So
I know.
it's nice.
We're like all in the same room, kind of.
Yeah.
But, so thank you. And don't forget to check out Bonnie, follow her Instagram, Twitter, check out Bonnie's book. Let me show that one at the bottom.
Yep,
And then let's see here. Monday, we are off. So don't miss us too much. We'll be back next Friday for Thrive O'Clock. And I'm not going to tell you who our guest is. We'll just keep that secret now. So for everybody out there, have a great weekend. For both of you, thank you again. And we'll see everybody next time.
All right. Thank you. And thank you, Dr. Harvey, for coming too.
Yes. Bye, everybody.